Today we're going to do writing. And writing back in 1904 was with what we call a quill pen. Quill came from the word from when they used to use feathers. And they would cut it at an angle and make it sharp. And this would be what they would make their ink in, or have their ink in. They would dip it, and they could write like this. But in 1904, we already have pens. And these pens are pretty cool. They have the same pointy end like you saw cut on a feather. It has a hole in it called a reservoir, and that holds the ink for the pen. And we're going to talk about how to hold the pen after we find out what the assignment is. I've already handed out the paper, but in 1904 they would have used something called parchment paper, and paper back in 1904 is very, very expensive. That means that you don't get an extra sheet of paper. If you make a mistake or a boo-boo, you are going to have to just cross it off or ignore it and keep going. We aren't going to just crinkle up our paper and throw it away. We have to use our same paper because we can't afford more. The pen is kind of like a plastic handle. Sometimes in 1904 they would even be wooden. It has a little groove in it, and where the groove is, you will take your thumb and your pointy finger and grab where the groove is. And the pen kind of falls backwards, nice and loose. If you pinch it too hard, you're not going to be able to write. So you just let it loosely sit on your fingers. Now, I do not have a preference if you put your fingers under, over, on top, whatever is comfortable for you and that you normally write. But remember, it's the thumb and the forefinger in the groove, let it fall back. Now I'm almost ready. If you look at the pen, it's kind of got a curve in that metal. You want it to be like a bridge going over. If you have something that dips down, you're holding it wrong. Turn it over and make it look like a bridge. So when you have your pen all ready to go, make sure it goes over, and then you can start writing. Now you don't have to dip it all the way into the ink. You're going to just make a mess getting it all over. So just dip it about halfway up where you have that broken part in your pen. And yes, it's supposed to look like it's a broken part. Now remember, if you press too hard, it's not going to work. It'll make your pen split apart. The ink is permanent, and that means it's not going to come off. It's like a permanent marker. So in 1904, when we were using this, we all push up our sleeves, and if we have bonnets or whatever on, we make sure that that's not going to be in the way of our arms and stuff when we're writing. Now what we're going to be writing is right here. This is in cursive. I'm going to ask that you at least write your name in cursive. The cursive is up on the wall as an example. Write your name, the date, and the school. And your school today is Spooner School. You're going to write a row of M's. And why I want you to write M's is because they flow nice and easy, and it's to get used to your pen. Start way at the beginning of the paper by the pink line, go to the end. I don't want you just to make 5 little M's. Oops, we got our punishment circle in the way of our M's if you're looking at the board right now. There we go. Now, we're going to try S's. These are hard. Look at how it goes up and makes a loop and comes down and makes a swirl. This is the first time you've done this, so if it doesn't come out perfect, it's okay. And you're going to get ink on you. It's okay. This is all something that's totally new and different. So don't worry, you're not going to have a perfect paper. And hopefully we have nobody crying today that it didn't work out right, because secretly, nobody's just going to work out 100% right. And sometimes I don't get it right either. Let's try to make a row of capital letters. I picked the letter G, but you can pick any letter you want to and make a row of capital letters. Then I want you to copy one of the maxims. And the maxims were written on the board over here. And remember, a maxim was like a moral to our story. It told us what the story was about and what lesson we were going to learn. So these are maxims. You could just have to copy one. Don't copy all of them. And then can you write me 5 sentences about life at the Little Red Schoolhouse? Some children get really frustrated with this, and some children cannot get their 5 sentences done. So as I'm walking around and checking what they're doing, sometimes I will tell them to go ahead and draw a picture or to do something else that might resemble the Little Red Schoolhouse, because we want to make this more of a pleasant experience. We're not trying to torture them, and some of them really, really have a difficult time with the ink, with the whole cursive, with the whole different experience. So it's not always going to be, exact. And you can adjust that to some of the levels also. If they have IEPs or whatever, you can change some of their expectations. Okay, we'll show girls first. And she was able to actually print it and write it in cursive. See it? And John, let's see how your paper is. Oh, I like John's paper. This looks exactly like what a lot of the papers look like. Some of them will have a couple big black blobs on it because they've had too much ink. And one thing I forgot to talk about was the blotter, but if you're not using liquid ink in the school, the blotter doesn't make a difference. But I explained to them about the blotter and soak it up if they get a little extra ink. And yeah, we see a lot of papers that are pretty blackish from the ink. And then I will collect all of the papers and give everybody a star just for having participated and having tried.